I can prove with these dominoes that God exists.
Oh, I'm sure you can, buddy. I mean, it's not like you're trying to use a physical example inside of our universe to prove a metaphysical idea that would necessarily exist outside of it, because if you tried to do that, it would mean that you're really, really dumb. And I would have to send you to the corner to play with. Oh, wait, never mind, already happening. Good job, pal.
And then you tell me if atheism is dead.
Why are you people always trying to kill atheism? Especially when atheism is just an idea that I don't believe in a guy. Even if your proof is like good, which it won't be because duh. But even if it was, I wouldn't have to accept it. I wouldn't have to believe it. I could still be wrong and remain an atheist. You literally can't stop me. At least not without a lot of whiskey. And, well, that'll only slow me down a little bit.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We need just one scientific principle to prove that God exists.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. And then proceeds to immediately get ahead of himself. So far that he's likely to headbutt himself in the arse. The concept that you can prove God with a singular idea, argument, or demonstration is a completely ludicrous concept on the face of it. Every single other idea, ones that are seemingly self-evident, like gravity, have near endless proofs behind them and how they work. And even with all of that, any honest scientist will tell you that it's entirely possible, if unlikely mind, it could all be wrong and gravity isn't how that thing that sticks us to the planet works. So no, you absolutely won't. Not even close. And the fact that you think you could is extremely telling. And that's without the fact that God doesn't reel.
This little domino system is at rest. Nothing's moving. Nothing's changing.
And this little theist's brain is at rest. Nothing moving, nothing changing, no new ideas engaging neurons, no concepts even forming within it. So relaxed it seems you might assume it was dead. But don't be fooled. It's actually not even there.
It is in equilibrium, and it will stay in equilibrium forever, unless an outside being acts upon it.
Ah, there it is, the immediate, if subtle, jump from something has to act on something else for it to be set into motion to someone has to act on it. No, you don't get to do that, buddy boy. That's called presupposing your conclusion, and it's very, very naughty. Almost anything could set something off. A gust of wind, a falling chunk of masonry, a lightning strike hitting a tree, which then hits a skateboard, knocking over a pint of milk, floating a paper boat, which then catches on fire from said tree into a cannon fuse, which fires at them, blowing the thing to pieces. None of those require a being specifically setting them off, even if the last one is a tad unlikely.
Now what happens if I apply a little force right here?
Well, depending on what the dominoes are made of, there's many possibilities. If they are some highly unstable element, it might blow up in your face. If they're covered in some sort of flaky lead-based paint, you might lose an IQ point or two. If they are made from asbestos, you could get fucking cancer. Frankly, I don't think it's worth the risk. Back away slowly and abandon this stupid argument before you get hurt. Wow, that was incredibly underwhelming. You would think if someone was going to use what is ostensibly a toy to demonstrate God, you might have chosen one with a little bit more pizzazz. As it is, if this does prove God real, the only thing it proves about him is that he's real boring. God damn.
A little force, a little nudge was applied, and the system released potential energy. And now it is back at equilibrium. And it will stay at equilibrium forever until I re-energize the system.
First off, your David Attenborough impression needs work. And second, you don't have to re-energize that system at all. There is still a ton of potential energy in that system, even in pieces scattered like that. It's on a table. If you took that away, they would all clatter to the floor. If you introduced a small amount of fire, they would burn, releasing a ton of chemical energy. And if you picked one up and ate it, it would release whatever caloric content your body could extract from it into you. And don't lie, that's exactly what you were going to do. I'm on to you. That was genuinely hilarious. I don't know if it was meant to be, but I will give our new best friend one thing. This video, it's pretty well made. Like, I always have to give that kind of feedback, because god damn me if I ain't sick and tired of dipshits sat in their cars for reasons unknown to anyone on the planet. It's just a shame that your arguments aren't up to your production standards.
This is how Newton's first law describes a principle of equilibrium. Objects at rest stay at rest until acted upon by an unbalanced force.
Unfortunately for you, while generally accurate, it is ignoring a really important concept relating to the argument you were trying to make. This only applies to stuff within our current universe as we understand it. It is an observation made within certain bounds. It cannot account for things that Newton nor we knew/know about, like the state of the universe at the beginning, nor the state of whatever may or may not be outside of the universe. Thus, when applied to things before or outside, it becomes completely and utterly irrelevant.
That's a little wordy, but it describes the behavior of objects in equilibrium.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13. It's 13 words. I don't know about you, but that's not a lot of words. In fact, that's about as concise a way to put it as you can get without reducing it to pidgin English. I know I made fun of you earlier for playing with toys, but now I'm starting to wonder if you somehow snuck this video out from your adult daycare facility. No offense to people in adult daycare. It was unfair of me to compare fucking anybody to this guy.
Imagine the entire physical universe inside this circle. All matter, energy, light, space, and even time inside this circle.
First off, inside, you know the universe is constantly expanding, right? What makes you think that there are any bounds to the universe? And second, I like this example because you have at least till this point given outside of the universe a physical presence. It is a mundane office with a pot plant in the corner and a man-child lording over his toys. And I'll be honest, if there happens to be anything even resembling a god in any kind of existence that exists, I would think that seems like the most likely version, at least in terms of one that made it on purpose. But do you think that this guy knows what's going on the corner atoms of, say, that piece there? Do you think he cares if those particular atoms tell him how cool he is and are sure not to jack off in case it makes him sad? Yeah, pretty sure God wouldn't care about us either.
Inside the physical universe. Outside, nothing. Not even empty space.
And how exactly do you know that? Did God tell you? Because I know that science didn't. Currently, the state of outside the universe is an unknown. It could be empty, aka a bunch of nothing. It could be as you accidentally presented before, or it could be all sorts of other ways. But what it absolutely is not is something that you know the answer to with any certainty.
In the beginning, the physical universe was nothing, an equilibrium of nothing. And it would have stayed that way unless something outside of the physical universe entered the circle.
Again, assuming the bounds are some firm thing that have to be there. And if there was a circle that contained not the universe, then that is by definition not nothing. The contents of a thing are a thing. And since your premise has a god on the outside, that's not nothings neither. So none of your nothing has nothing in it. Let alone the whole equilibrium idea also assumes a state of not nothing, as there has to be something for it to be unequilibriumized. Yes, that is a real word now. I decided. Your entire premise is utterly incoherent. I am surprised. Can't you tell from my surprised face?
But it did not stay this way. Something non-physical, outside of the physical universe, had to have existed to bring the physical universe into existence.
Let's say there is an outside of the universe with something there. What makes you think our concept of physical reality would not apply to that also? That's the other thing about an outside of the universe. While our present rules may not, and probably do not, apply to it, there's also no reason it couldn't just be a bigger version of our present reality. This is the problem with your obvious conclusion. Pretty much every single one of your premises is some kind of presumption rather than a known fact about reality.
So what do we know?
What do we know? Lots of things, I'm sure. What do you know? I'm unconvinced at this point you know anything. And I'm not even trying to be a dick, mostly. But literally all of your claims about outside the universe are speculation. They are all things that you literally could not know. The biggest problem I have is that you're stating them all as facts when they are not. They are at best guesses. The fact is, if you just used the word if, I wouldn't even have a problem. But then again, if you did use if, it would fundamentally damage your attempt to establish credibility for your conclusion. But that's only because you don't actually have any.
About the being that created the physical universe.
We already established that it doesn't need to be a being, and even if it was one, that's something that we don't know. What we know about whatever the reason for the universe to begin is that the universe, at least from our current observations and understandings, appears to have had a beginning. That is it. End of the things that we know about anything of the sort. Everything else is a guess, an assumption, or from you, more than likely, a God of the Gaps argument. Those are bad, FYI.
Here are 6 things that we know about that being.
Oh, this ought to be fun. But before we start, we should have a go ourselves. Number 1, he doesn't real. Number 2, they isn't exist. Number 3, being a thing is not one of his hobbies. Number 4, it am fake. Number 5, existence is the opposite of what that thing does. And number 6, big fan of Coldplay. Fuck knows why.
The first one is obvious. He's non-physical. To be outside of the physical universe, he has to be non-physical. Another word for that is spiritual.
Obvious, is it? Well, I already explained how that's not as obvious as you think it is, but even if that was the case, non-physical is not a synonym for spiritual. Spiritual is a specific claim with specific characteristics that are not the opposite of physicality. Hell, even if we demonstrated a spiritual entity to exist, I think it's more likely that spiritual would just be another element of our physical universe rather than being a separate thing entirely. So that's 1 out of 6 failures thus far. I got some high hopes for the rest. No hopes.
And for this spiritual, non-physical being to create the universe, he had to be powerful.
So let's say that the outside of the universe contains at least one God. Well, if something exists, it almost always is the case that there is another, or at the very least something very much like it. And if they are similar, then they are more than likely capable of doing the same things, in this instance, creating universes. And of course, there's more than likely many more of these entities, all capable of that very same feat. So suddenly, the idea that this creature is powerful is muted by the fact that it is doing something relatively mundane. Much like a human's ability to construct IKEA furniture might blow the mind of an ant, it's actually not something that your average human finds particularly challenging. Me, on the other hand, these were supposed to be shells.
And had the ability to act.
Well, now we're just getting completely off topic. I mean, why would a hugely powerful universe creator even have the desire to partake in thespian performance? Who would he even be doing it for? Us? Well, we can't see him, so that's out the window. And as you seem to be asserting that he's a singular entity in an outside verse that contains only him, he's both not doing it for others in his classification, nor even able to make a recording of said performance for viewing later. Frankly, I just don't know why you even brought it up, because I know that you're not actually saying that a being that can do stuff has the ability to do stuff, because that would be a trivial tautology and not worth the air required to say it out loud.
And if this powerful being was ever going to act, he had to be motivated by something.
Okay, I'll bite. Motivated by what exactly? Now, you don't actually go on to say what his motivation was, although I'm assuming it's finding his brother's killers before the Empire State Building gets taken over by terrorists trying to steal the Statue of Liberty. Wait, we're not doing the acting thing, are we? But yeah, in all seriousness, what possible explanation for doing anything does what is more than likely, in your worldview, an all-powerful and all-knowing creature have? They know and can do literally all possible things, so doing anything becomes utterly pointless to such an entity. It's almost like those are very silly attributes to give it, or something like that.
And this motivated being, if he was ever going to create the universe and the world around us, he had to have some level of intelligence.
Some level of intelligence is the funniest thing you've said so far. Holy shit. I mean, talk about damning with faint praise. That is exactly how I would describe you. Well, you know, he has some level of intelligence. The implication, of course, being that level is extremely low. But the truly hilarious thing is, it still kind of works. If we give you everything else so far, but a low level of intelligence, which is not the implication that you wanted to make, but did so anyway, accidentally, it's fine. An idiot god that happens to have incredible powers will still make things more than likely. And frankly, if that is the case, I would believe it, considering all the really stupid design decisions that moron made when it came to creating humans. I mean, first of all, there's the smell, then there's that noise that they make with their faces, the fact that they exist anywhere near me. So many obvious errors that only a complete moron would miss.
And imagination.
Talking about yourself again, are we? Although that's not fair. He 100% got these shit ideas from someone else. I seriously doubt he's even smart enough to make all these terrible arguments on his own. And you know what? If we go back to the intelligence thing and the likely infinite intelligence of an all-powerful god, imagination in such a creature, strangely enough, is technically impossible. If you already know literally everything, you cannot come up with a single new idea by definition, as you already have them.
So there we have it. The creator of the universe. God. There's so much more we can learn about God.
Well, there's the understatement of the century, and somehow also an overstatement. Because if you are right, you seemingly know absolutely dick all about the guy. And if I'm right, he doesn't exist, and we know everything we could possibly know about a non-existent being, aka he doesn't do the real.
By studying the physical world around us. We'll work on getting that video to you. And we'll put it up here.
Well, you know, studying anything would be a real good start. Until then, I'll have to just assume that all your arguments from now till the future will be unsubstantiated assumptions and assertions that prove absolutely nothing. Because that's exactly what they are. Bye!